I'm Paul Burton, Director of eLearning and Digital Content with a team here at IMAGINiT Technologies. We're a leading provider of technology solutions, consulting, and training across North America for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing organizations. We help firms maximize the value of their design and engineering tools by improving workflows, increasing team productivity, and driving digital transformation. Our ProductivityNOW platform is a comprehensive learning management support solution powered by our partners at Eagle Point Software. It's built specifically for the needs of technical teams in design and engineering environments. So today we're excited to have Tammy Rico from DLR Group and Mary Forbes of Eagle Point Software with us for this session. Tammy's going to share how her team built a scalable learning framework using IMAGINIT's ProductivityNOW e-learning platform, along with some other tools. Now this led to significant improvements in workforce readiness, project efficiency, and even employee satisfaction. Like I said, at Imagine, we work with AEC and manufacturing organizations right across North America. And one consistent theme we hear is the pressure to ensure that teams are not only technically proficient, but also adaptable, ready to take on new roles, new technologies, and new business models. We're going to talk about how to identify training gaps and build personalized learning paths, how to use data-driven insights for better resource allocation and mentorship, and then finally, how to leverage upskilling as a competitive advantage, helping you attract and retain top talent while future-proofing your business. Welcome, Tammy Rico from DLR Group and Mary Forbes from Eagle Point Software.
I'm Mary Forbes. I oversee the customer success department here at Eagle Point Software. We're partnered with the IMAGINiT team to provide that learning and knowledge sharing solution for customers in the AEC and manufacturing industry.
I am Tammy Rico. My role here at DLR Group is Senior Technical Training Designer. I have been with our firm for over 6 years and have been in the AEC industry for over 18. I'm over on the L&D side, working a lot with implementation of design technologies, process and workflow improvements, training, strategic planning, and things like that.
You might have noticed a food theme going on here, and really it's because everyone can relate to food. It's that common discussion that brings us all together at the same table. Why was DLR Group doing this? What cravings did they have, and what were they coming to you with?
Our global engineering leader had a goal in his business plan of becoming 10% more efficient working on projects. As part of the design technology team, Revit is the primary design tool, so that's where we could have the most effect. We also had employees asking for more training. So that's really how our path started.
Great. We can all relate to the words on this slide. Everyone has probably either had someone come to you recently asking you, how can we be more efficient? How can we streamline? How can we optimize?
Skills that we had 40 years ago would last 10 years. Our skills now last less than 2. That's a drastic change in a skill half-life. As employers, we need to plan faster, better. How do we handle that? Long-term planning is key.
How did you start out? Where did you begin taking all the different requests and putting them into reality?
At the time the request came in, we did have access to the software package called KnowledgeSmart, specifically built for the AEC and manufacturing industry. It's got a lot of out-of-the-box assessments. They're great for multiple software programs. They've got some processes in there. So we mapped out a plan to roll out the testing, focusing on our 3 primary engineering disciplines: mechanical, electrical, and structural. We were doing that as proof of concept to see what kind of information we could get from these tests.
How did you use that data then to start making decisions and move forward?
What you're seeing here is the out-of-the-box dashboard in Power BI that KnowledgeSmart has available. It is a really in-depth dashboard. It had more information that we could possibly use, which was great. Here you're seeing different offices and what their scores were and their times, so we can see which offices would be considered proficient and which offices needed some extra training. Here you're seeing an example of one of the out-of-the-box dashboards showing the priority training topic. That was all done in-house by our design technology team. This is also when we launched our Did You Know series, which is still going on today. It's 15 to 20 minutes each week, highlighting processes and tools and reminders. In doing this, we did see an efficiency increase. We saw production time decrease on projects. After a while, we started getting feedback that they needed advanced training. People that were attending the sessions were not the ones who needed the fundamentals. We were also launching several DLR Group automation tools, more advanced processes, and they needed to be trained on that. Overall, our culture index was providing information that we needed to provide more learning opportunities. We did see a 3% increase from 2021 to 2022 for engineering. but it was time to revisit and figure out what's the next evolution of this.
So the skills testing was really just the start for you. And now it's time to open up the buffet. What did you do with the feedback in order to expand on it?
One of our firm's 5-year strategic goals was to invest in our people. A couple of the ways that we were looking at doing that was upskilling our people and then launching an internal learning platform. This provided us the opportunity to bring in our strategic partners, LearnAmp and IMAGINiT with ProductivityNOW. So LearnAmp is our primary LXP system, and we branded that as Campus, which is what you're seeing here. ProductivityNOW, of course, handles all of our AEC and software technology. And for those that don't know what an LXP is, it is a learning experience platform. Engineering started requesting more advanced training for the DLR Group way. How do we do the DLR Group processes? How do we use our DLR Group tools that were being created with our in-house automation? This actually started our phase 2 and phase 3 of the assessment testing. And then because we were able to show the efficiency increase, we did get leadership agreement from our global discipline leaders and firm leadership to continue to develop out the program. It really sparked a lot of things to move forward.
Tell us a little bit about your timeline for this.
It definitely was not an overnight process. We started in 2020. Once we figured out phases 1 through 3, we're able to launch in 12 to 18 months. There's 3 phases and a maintenance phase. When you look at phase 1, this sets the entire tone for your project. This is where you're going to launch the programs, set all the goals, work with the leadership and with the testing team. Don't rush the first phase. Lean on your strategic partners to help build the assessments and surveys. That was huge. That saved us a lot of time, their guidance and their expertise. And I cannot stress enough that communications plan and talking about that you're investing in your people, that you want to not waste their time. That really sets the stage and gets employee buy-in as you go through the next phases. Phase 2 is the easiest of all the phases. It is simply a retest of the first round. You don't change anything. This validates your program. You should see an increase in scores and a decrease in the time that it takes to complete the assessments. This is huge because this gives you that communication plan to tell the story, to show the increases in efficiencies and that your program is actually working. And then phase 3 is the longest. The nice thing is once you launch phase 1 and they're doing the initial testing, you can actually launch phase 3. Working with your subject matter experts is critical. Make sure that you have your processes in order before you start doing this. Create the training for your processes. Then you create the questions from the training. You can repeat year after year after year with your updated tools and process and software. Once the specific tool testing came out for us, we did see our tool usage triple. We're currently on track to quadruple the usage in 2025 because they're being tested on it and they're being shown how to use it. And then the last phase, really the maintenance long-term plan. This is what you're going to do every year, making sure that everything is updated, timing it with software releases. So you really get on that cycle. This one's given annually so that people stay up to date and stay fresh because we all get in our habits. This brings it back to the light of, oh yeah, we have this tool or this tool. I haven't used this one. I forgot about this one, and keeps it in the forefront of people's learning. Those are all 4 of the phases and how they all get put together.
You could have stopped at any one of those phases, but now that you had that program started, how did you expand it?
So in doing this with engineering, our global interior design leader started asking, how do we focus training efforts for their discipline? The deliverable ended up being this version of the learning matrix that spells out the competencies for each of the disciplines at each of the role levels and then how they build on each other. This created our pillars of learning. Human skills, practice, general technology are our primary standard ones. The last 2, design, equity, and climate and environment, are such big initiatives in our firm. As they become second nature, they'll actually get absorbed within the other 4. Human skills, that's the personal development, things like presentation, time management, critical thinking, those kinds of things. Practice is role specific. That's how do you be the architect? How do you be the planner? How do you be the design technology manager? How do you be the accounts receivable specialist? General is everything that crosses disciplines. So everything that you need to know, like EBITDA, job site safety, things like that. So that's the stuff that really crosses everybody in the entire firm. Technical is pretty self-explanatory. That's all the technical tools, Bluebeam or Microsoft or Clarity or Nuforma or whatever it is. Design equity, of course, for us is equitable design practices. So looking through an equitable lens when we do design. Climate environment, of course, is making sure we're meeting all the initiatives we have signed up for 2030 and those kinds of things. So that really developed in having those conversations, defining these pillars of learning and making sure we're hitting all of them to give a broad spectrum of training.
That's really important to get that engagement score and have people feel their worth is not just the technical, it's everything else they bring to the table with them. You put together an amazing framework. You added in your strategic partners. What else has been added? How did you continue to grow your menu?
With Productivity Now and KnowledgeSmart, we're able to create personalized learning progress. Here's actual reporting from one of our people. We can see over time score increase. How did they rate with the firm average? What courses they were rolled in, when they were completed. In this case, they tested out of certain ones. That allowed growth and development opportunities. And it was used for guiding career management conversations and helping to create very specific and additional learning goals for each of the individuals. We did this learning matrix with interiors. Engineering was like, we want it too. So now we've expanded the learning matrix. We've added architecture, engineering, planning, project management, and reality capture has also started their first phase as well. With our strategic partners, we were able to launch their first assessment in 12 weeks. It was huge because there wasn't really an out of the box for our Productivity Now team being able to do that in 12 weeks. That's fast. We need to know what skills people have that then can feed into some of that additional training. So we use some of the out of the box skills inventories. We can see where do people excel? Where did we need to provide more exposure? It helped guide conversations with employee owners and career managers as well. That really turned out to be a fantastic side effect. You can see everybody draws right to that red line in the middle for augmented reality. So that was a conversation piece of, is that a priority skill? Do we need to focus that now, or do we need to focus on other things? That really helped drive what we were going to focus on and build learning experiences for.
Great. This is amazing. I know many people live in spreadsheets and static documents. This is a living, breathing dashboard that you can go in and slice and dice and keep up to date with where you need to go and how you need to make those decisions. Having the data like this really helps to reduce divide between learning and development and what the technical teams need for training. How does this all fit together, especially for someone who's not as familiar with all these different parts that feed into your program?
So there are actually three main parts to our learning experiences and how we create them. There's the skills inventory, competencies and tasks, and then, of course, the learning matrix or the overall curriculum. We all have our secret sauce of how we do things. When you think about AEC and construction, we have work planning. That's the primary competency. Underneath that, there's 8 tasks that need to happen to complete that competency. The learning matrix takes that and breaks that down one additional step and says, at what level do you need to know what? People coming into the industry need to understand, what is a work plan? How do you read a work plan? Why do we do a work plan? Why is it on every project? When you start advancing into role level 2, you start being able to provide input. When you get to role level 3 and senior levels, you should be able to build a work plan by yourself and help educate the level 1s and level 2s on their tasks. That matrix breaks it all down and then, of course, drives curriculum. The skills inventory piece is the fundamental building blocks for all of these competencies. As a person develops new skills and they're identified, the new competencies are identified and where they can grow. That's what will drive creating the learning experience and making the training relevant so they can apply it as soon as that learning experience is done.
You started with the engineering, then you worked with interior design. Now you put it all together. You can almost think of the interior design group as a small firm. Walk us through how quickly you were able to get them through the math.
Think about the credentialing that our interior designers go through. They're capable of way more than picking the pretty colors and the patterns. They were given such a small scope of work. How do we make sure that they're not feeling underutilized? 75% of our interior designers were under 5 years of experience. So they need that additional support to get them more experience and give them that solid foundation. With our first one, Audrey brought us in and we had conversations with how do we change perceptions of our interior designers and project teams. And Audrey brought in Jose to be my main partner in doing a lot of this background work, bringing in Audrey for updates. So leadership is always up to date, but they don't necessarily have to sit in every single conversation because there is a lot of groundwork. The next piece of that is the Revit assessments and looking at what do they need trained, which dramatically affects their production times. This provided us with the specific things to focus on for them. And then, of course, that learning matrix and expanding the conversations, looking holistically at how do we gain the people and train the people and retain the people? What does it look like to be an interior designer? So then Audrey, Jose, and I looked at what was the priority for that fiscal year. We were able to execute on 2 of those top 3 priorities. People wanted clearer understanding of where they could go. How could they grow in their skills and professionally? This all equates to better engagement and higher productivity. We did a lot of research on the L&D side and had great conversations with our strategic partners, bringing in Productivity Now and switching our approach to skills-based, not job description-based, to identify the important skills versus the nice to haves. And then we could look at our champions and have them become our mentors, no matter what the skill is. And it could be the younger ones teaching the older ones. That fed into making sure that we were mapping out all of the competencies and breaking them down. Who needs to know what at what time? And then these are the things that we're working on right now, including human skills and manager input, fine-tuning roles and competencies to line up better, and working on how to scale this up for the best delivery methods, not just recording a meeting and calling it good, but true learning experiences. This provided the groundwork that we needed to get the leadership buy-in to do dedicated content development time. This is what our investment is. This is what we're getting back. It really does work. We've seen a 17% increase in our culture index when we asked about training that they were receiving in the firm. And this is from 2021 to 2023. It was a 17% increase. In 2024, we did see a 1% drop. However, when you look at the comments, they wanted more specific learning experiences, that higher level. That's still huge. We did also see is interior design was 2% higher than our firm average. So even though it dropped 1%, our interior design leadership was quite happy with our increase. With engineering, we saw a 19% increase from 2021 through 2024. We've been able to consistently increase their satisfaction. And then we saw huge increases with our automation tool usage. When we first started out, it was used on 114 projects. The next year it was 328 projects. And now we're already set to quadruple that usage in automation. So when you start packing on the amount of hours and the dollars that saves, it's huge. That pays for the development and that pays for that training to be able to do that. In October of 24, we sent out a learning and development strategy to 10% of our firm asking about the programs we've been working on. What we have found is when we took the time to do the foundation work, we were averaging 25% higher in satisfaction. That is a huge difference than the ones that didn't do the foundation or skipped a lot of it and went straight to an end product. The 3 big takeaways. First of all, doing the foundation work is critical. No matter which piece you pick, I always recommend doing a pilot program that provides initial ROI. Storytelling helps you show leadership, hey, this is working, or it even identifies, hey, we need to tweak this process, and then being able to communicate that data. That's been the biggest benefit.
Thank you, Tammy, for sharing this amazing story and recapping for us how you took the targeted training, all the different pieces, putting them together and truly unlocking the innovation at DLR Group. What you shared today can really be used by any company, no matter your size, your goals, what your needs are. Everyone's menu is going to be different, and you've given us some great recipes to get started with.